G'day guys, Ziggy D here, back with some more Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls beta. In this video I want to show off my new Demon Hunter setup that I've been playing around with. I recently found a one-handed crossbow that allows me to basically make a permanent strafe build without worrying about hatred at all. It removes the hatred cost of strafe. Now with this I set up a build that would simply attack as much as possible, put out as many hits as quickly as possible whilst dealing a ton of damage, taking advantage of some of the new mechanics and this new ability to perma strafe like this. Now I'm also stacking 20% chance to crushing blow on this character. Now combined with the the amount of hits that we're putting out, pretty simply, from things like Rain of Vengeance, from things like Fan of Knives going off constantly, from the actual Vengeance skill, and from Strafe itself, and even the Chakram Shuriken Cloud rune there. All of this stuff hitting procs that Crushing Blow very often. So if you're not familiar with Crushing Blow, it's a new mechanic that's been added into Diablo 3. It's a kind of a callback to Diablo 2's Crushing Blow. But in Diablo 3, basically, whenever it goes off, it does 25% of the current mob's remaining HP as damage to them. So basically, if you hit a mob with 100% life and Crushing Blow them, they go down to 75 life. Obviously, this is very, very powerful. Now, this is nerfed for elites and bosses, and I think it has been nerfed down to 5% if you Crushing Blow a boss or an elite. In the background footage, I'm fighting Azmodan on Torment 6, which is the current highest difficulty in the game. This is, what MP10 basically in the new system. Now, I've only been playing on this Demon Hunter for about 3 days. I've been farming and getting my gear for about 3 days. And you'll see this fight goes pretty cruisily for me. Firstly, it's not too hard. I'm able to have very good survivability with this setup. And with the Crushing Blow, I can take down Azmodan's ridiculous amount of health very, very quickly, especially the first parts of it. The way Crushing Blow works is because I'm proccing it fairly often with 20% chance to go off and attacking a lot, it's going off pretty often and dealing 5% of Azmodan's remaining health each time it goes off. So that's pretty insane, especially at the start. You'll notice his health jumped down really, really quickly right at the beginning there. But it slows down as we progress through, but still, this turns what could be like a 3-hour fight into a less than, a couple minutes fight. So that was pretty entertaining and pretty interesting to see that I could just jump straight onto Torment 6 like that and be able to kill Azmodan so easily. So let's take a bit more of a look at the build, and I'll jump over and we'll do a Rift run as well, just to talk about the spec a bit more, and talk about some of the cool new stuff in Reaper of Souls. Alright, so here's the actual weapon that I found, the Kamar 10 clip. One-handed crossbow here. It's rolled pretty well. I've found some other crossbows, some other legendary crossbows, and even rare bows that have slightly higher DPS than this, but the strafe no longer costs hatred is pretty significant. And obviously, you've seen how it's allowed me to create this build around this item. They kind of changed some things in this game where it's a bit harder to run things like Perma Whirlwind barbs and stuff like that, but by adding in these specific items that allow you to enable builds, we can kind of create these really interesting builds. And in fact, I say Permastrafe is much, much stronger in Reaper of Souls than it was in Diablo 3 Vanilla. I actually played a Permastrafe build for a long time in Vanilla, and it was never amazing. It was always pretty fun, but never amazing. But in Reaper of Souls, even without stacking Crushing Blow, which I didn't have it until recently, I was still pretty insane doing this build, and I was still able to clear Torment 1 pretty quickly, even without the Crushing Blow. So this is pretty good stuff. I'll go over my spec and then we'll take a look at some of the other gear pieces I'm using to supplement this build. So I'm using Chakram here with Shuriken Cloud. Now I just activate there, and there's a few things I can do with this. If I'm running Shadow Power, I can actually use it to snapshot the life on hit, so it can heal me that way, but otherwise it just deals pretty significant damage. 200% weapon damage per second as physical damage to nearby enemies, and it actually hits and procs hit effects and does all sorts of cool stuff. It's just a lot of extra damage as well, since we're usually strafing on top of things. Now for strafe, I'm using Rocket Storm, and I'm combining that with the Ballistics rune. Ballistics now also gives a 20% chance to fire a homing rocket, and since we're attacking very quickly with this, it'll shoot off an extra rocket pretty quickly. Now this obviously has a lot of extra rockets, so we're getting extra damage from that as well. And because we're also using the Vengeance skill, which also has homing rockets, we're getting increased damage for the rockets from ballistics as well. So lots of rockets going off and dealing lots of damage. Now the reason I chose Rocket Storm, usually Demolition is one of the better Strafe runes, is because I'm trying to go for the maximum amount of hits as possible, and Rocket Storm is really good. I also tried Stinging Steel, and it's actually quite good as well, because I'm stacking quite a bit of crit. But once I got a bit of Crushing Blow and realized how much better it was than trying to stack a lot of crit, I ended up going for Rocket Storm because it simply hits more, and it combines really nicely with Ballistics and Vengeance and all that sort of stuff. So pretty cool stuff. Next up, I'm using Rain of Vengeance as well, which just does a lot of extra damage. It's basically passive after I cast it. I'm just using Dark Cloud. You could try and use some of the other ones, but I think that's probably the best because it's the most passive. You can just cast it and it follows you around. Now, this also destroys scenery around me in addition to a lot of my other attacks, but mostly it. And that's pretty important because I'm using the Haratonian Arm Guards here, which every time you destroy a wreckable object, you gain a short burst of speed. When we do our Rift run in a second, or if we do some other runs, you'll notice that my run speed is often very, very high, and it's because I'm constantly benefiting from this. Now, I'm also using another item somewhere here that gives me move speed when I hit an enemy, or is that a passive? Oh, I mean, that's right, I'm using Hot Pursuit. Increase movement speed for 20%. By 20% for 2 seconds when you hit an enemy. I'm constantly moving and hitting enemies with this build, so this works really, really well. There's also some uniques that give increased damage while moving. I'd like to get my hands on that if possible, but I haven't found out which one that's on yet. But other skills I've got, Fan of Knives. I'm using Knives Expert, which allows me to use Hatred instead of having a cooldown. That means I can just constantly make this go off whenever I've got Hatred, and just keep casting that. So I get a lot more effective use out of that in this build. And since Strafe no longer uses any Hatred, I can just pop this off however I want, so it's just a lot of extra damage there. And of course, proccing more on hit effects, as many hits as possible. And Vengeance Dark Heart, I'm using Dark Heart because Vengeance pours out of you, continuously dealing 350% weapon damage per second to enemies around you. It's the problem with Vengeance is when I actually use it, you'll notice that the front guns only go in the direction I'm going. Now, the rockets are fine. They'll go off and target enemies, but the front guns aren't always hitting very effectively when we're trying to strafe around. So, adding the Dark Heart to that means that I have a lot better AoE damage with Vengeance. It just works a lot better with Strafe. It's probably the best rune to run with Strafe, and seems to work very effectively. Now, I'm also running Perfectionist because it's a huge buff, and I can't really figure out what other passive to use, and Archery for some extra crit damage, but there's a few other things you could try and use. Night Stalker could work pretty well. In fact, Night Stalker would actually be pretty nice since I'm now using Smokescreen. Now, let's talk about Smokescreen. I've tried Shadow Power, Smokescreen, and even Mark of Death. If I eventually get one of the new calamities, I'll run Mark of Death pretty much permanently because it also heals. But for now, I'm using Smokescreen with Healing Vapors, which is 15% life regen while invisible. And this is actually insane now that there's no life steal anymore. Life gain on hit is pretty slow, and even Shadow Power with the healing rune is only 10,000, which is pretty low, but this is like 15% of my 500k life, and I can pop this pretty often, and it pretty much keeps me alive through anything. You saw me use it in the Asmodean fight to basically avoid all damage and heal. Now, I'm also using Beckon Sail as my chest piece here, which automatically casts Smokescreen if we drop to 25% life. This simply saves your life, but because I'm also using Smokescreen here, that applies the rune to this. So when Beckon Sail goes off, the runed Smokescreen happens, and I also heal. So it improves the effectiveness of Beckon Sail there. Other items I'm using are Cord of the Hero Man here, which creates a charm sort of effect in an AoE location when I hit enemies. Now, this has a short cooldown, but it seems to go off pretty often, and when I'm strafing around, constantly putting out tons of hits, enemies are constantly becoming charmed. They're not hitting me, and they're hitting each other instead. It's probably the most amazing CC that I've ever seen in Diablo 3. This build is insane with this build. Pretty awesome stuff. Next up, I'm using Ice Climbers, which stops me from getting frozen, so I don't need to worry about that now, and any other immobilize effects as well. I also rolled some strafe damage on this, although the roll on that is terrible. I'd like to re-roll that. The max for that, as you can see, is 15%. I rolled 8. I'd like to get 15% if possible, but otherwise that's pretty good. It also reduces damage from cold attacks and things like that. Pretty nice item overall. Avarice Band is just gold pickup radius 1. It helps a bit because when I pick up gold, my Health globe pickup radius also increases as well, so that helps with a bit of survivability on this build, but it's really not that significant. And I created these gloves myself, which have 12% chance to immobilize on hit, so that's pretty helpful, but not a huge deal. I'd like to get the gloves that give shrine effects, because that's pretty OP, those pair of gloves, and hopefully we'll get that soon. But now, with that out of the way, let's go run a rift, because I haven't actually shown you guys any rifts yet, and they're pretty fun. I think rifts have a lot of potential, but they're not quite there yet. Currently, you basically just run a rift. It's a randomized series of levels. You fill up this bar, and then a boss appears. You kill the boss. These have pretty decent loot in them, and they're pretty good XP. The density roll's pretty good. It's all randomized, obviously, but that's about it. They're fun. They're fun, and it has a lot of potential, but I want to see them improve this idea a lot more. I want to see craftable rifts that allow you to make them more difficult. I want to see, you know, other forms of reward and other forms of challenges in these rifts. Expand on this idea further, Blizzard, if you can, because it's a really good idea, but I think it needs a little bit more. So let's just basically go through this here. You'll notice instantly all of those mobs there are charmed. That means they're not attacking me, and they're instead attacking each other. Now I'm playing on Torment 1, and my stats are pretty good now, and I'm able to breeze through Torment 1 pretty easily now. And some combinations of mobs are still dangerous, and it still takes quite a long time to kill things sometimes because the health is quite low. But with this crushing blow setup now, like single mobs especially that have a lot of life are pretty crazy. Let's go pop my Vengeance Rune and unleash some insanity. But this might remind you of some Whirlwind Barb action, and yeah, I'm certainly getting that feeling, especially now with all the different speed boosts we can do with this. Strafe before was a very slow and somewhat ineffective build, although it was a lot of fun with all these new legendaries and things that we're running, and all this new sort of stuff we can do. It's pretty insane. Not to mention the fact that I kind of have partial CC immunity from my ice climbers and stuff like that, so I feel a lot like a D3 vanilla Whirlwind Barb, but I don't know if the damage is quite as good, but maybe Crushing Blow makes up for that a bit. But you'll notice we're breezing through this tub pretty good, and after only 2 or 3 days of farming, to be able to get to this point where I can farm this sort of Torment level feels pretty insane. Now, to be fair, Blizzard have announced that they had increased the legendary drop rate, basically all drop rates. I don't want to get hit by that. Oh no, I couldn't get away from the Molten. I should have popped a smoke screen, oops. But Blizzard have announced that they have increased the drop rate in the beta, so the progression is going to be much shorter than it would otherwise be. There's a Rift Keystone. We've gone 1 for 1 there pretty easily. Let's finish this guy off here. Now you'll notice with Crushing Blow, I just like work down those elites super fast, especially at the start, but after that my normal character damage needs to carry me through. So Crushing Blow is very effective when they have high life, and less effective as you move forwards. But against white mobs as well, you know, that first 20 to 50% of their life goes down so fast. I'm actually picking up white items because I need a lot of crafting materials, and salvaging those is pretty important in Reaper of Souls, it seems. And especially since they just removed, there was a hotfix today that removed the little baggies you get from doing normal bounties. You only get 1 baggie at the end after completing a full act of bounties now, so getting crafting materials has become a little bit even harder, so picking up those items to salvage is actually pretty worthwhile, so I'll pick up quite a few of those guys. Now, it looks like this has been a pretty big level. We're up to 30% already, just on this first one here, so I'll keep going through. You'll notice when I blow up those barrels and stuff like that, we get a nice increase in move speed. The Chakram Rune floating around us does that as well as the Rain of Vengeance does that pretty well too. But I'm having a lot of fun with Demon Hunter in the new expansion pack. Still suffers from some of the same issues as in vanilla, just where the skills overall don't quite scale as well as other classes. Like for example, my current stats of almost 1 million damage and almost 10 million toughness while getting to 9 million toughness is actually like on par or a bit more than I've seen a lot of Crusaders and other classes running. And those classes are, you know, using bugged abilities, sure, but they were able to do things like Torment 6 and stuff by now, whereas I find Torment 1 still the most comfortable for the Demon Hunter. So still suffering from those similar issues, but this is all stuff that could be improved and worked on throughout the beta. And I'll keep providing my feedback to Blizzard where I can. And there's a few other people playing Demon Hunter doing the same thing. But I have to admit, Demon Hunter has become more fun than ever in Reaper of Souls. The addition of Vengeance alone is like such an awesome buff for fun on the Demon Hunter. It's just an amazing rune. Like, you pop it and just destroy. And that's a pretty good feeling to be able to do that. That new affix there that spawns those little ice guys is pretty nasty. Let's finish off this elite here. Should be able to work him down pretty last. You notice the last bit of health goes down pretty slowly, but the rest of it's pretty good. I actually need some more Marquise gems. Running a little bit low there. So I'll just, like, if I'm running along and there's no mobs or anything like that, I'll just try and destroy scenery wherever I can to give me that little speed boost. I'm getting pretty close to another Paragon level, actually. Unfortunately, this Paragon level is only a main stat one. I would have liked to get some more run speed, or get some more magic find, or one of those other ones, but this level I'll be able to get some more dex, so I'll be able to increase my damage a little bit. I should be able to break the 1 million damage mark and the 10 million toughness mark pretty soon, and I might be able to start doing some Torment too pretty soon. I think the biggest thing that's going to allow me to jump up into higher Torments is if I get a Calamity, or if I get some other legendaries. I've still got a shoulder slot to go, a pants slot, and obviously a second one-hand crossbow or a quiver if I find a good quiver. I don't know if there are any good legendary quivers or not. Deadman's Legacy might be pretty good. I'll see how those end up rolling. But right now I've got this insanely well-rolled rare that's got 9.5 crit chance, 15 attack speed, and very, very high dexterity vitality rolls. Let's actually show this guy off here. Look at the ranges on that. Almost close to top tier dexterity and vitality. Top tier crit and attack speed as well. Pretty nice. And the socket for the extra all resist on that, along with extra discipline. Pretty insane quiver for a rare. Probably the best rare you could get. The metagame for items in Reaper of Souls has shifted a bit. We kind of saw this a little bit in vanilla already, where legendaries were becoming more, basically better than rares in most cases. Whoa, that was the teleport affix there, the wormhole one. This pack's a bit dangerous actually. I'm going to have to use my... It looks like I was on top of some molten I didn't see. Use my smoke screen to heal myself back up. And I'll use my Kool-Aid. My legendary potion down there, by the way, is Kool-Aid. It allows me to burst through wall of walls whenever I use it for 5 seconds. When I'll end the effects of that affix. It's pretty cool. I think there's another type of legendary potion as well. I'm not sure what it does though. But, this pack's pretty nasty. So I was saying the whoa, that's close. All right, gonna have to be a bit careful here. The metagame shift for Diablo 3 is already sort of trending towards rares not being top tier, but there was still some rares that were best in slot, and I don't know, personally I feel like a perfectly rolled rare should be more powerful than legendaries, but what should set legendaries apart is the fact that they add interesting stats and affixes. And that's certainly the case in Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, but it also seems like they tend to roll higher as well, so I'm pretty sure eventually every character in Reaper of Souls in the current metagame system will have legendaries in all slots, and that's kind of what I'm already aiming for on this character. So I definitely want another legendary ring, because I want some interesting proc effect off that, and I definitely want some legendary shoulders, because I know there's some pretty good proc effects there, and I'm pretty sure some legendary pants will do me pretty well, and I want a Calamity as well for its marked for death proc that it has as well. It'll be pretty insane with this build, because it means I'll be able to drop smoke screen, and I won't have to even use mark for death because it'll happen automatically. But I'll have it on my skill bar for the healing rune, and that should be pretty insane. It looks like we're up to about 60%. Looks like 60% on level 2 leads me to believe that this particular rift might have 2 to 4 levels, maybe, probably 4 levels, maybe. But I will see. Sometimes I have a few extra and you end up killing the boss 2 levels before you finish, and you can go through and farm the rest of the rift if you want, or you can start a new one and try for another boss kill sooner. But in the recent hotfix, they also added heraldic caches, or cache. I was saying that wrong in the last video apparently. They added the heraldic cache at the end of the rift as well, so that's pretty good. We get a nice little loot baggie at the end of this now, so that's pretty exciting. Definitely keen to get that. So I'll build myself up to a bit closer to 100%, and then we'll check out the boss fight at the end there. Looks like we've got a Thunderstorm Elite pack here. I have some feelings about this particular affix. It is an unavoidable high damage nuke. You'll see it just comes down, and there's nothing you can do to avoid it unless you like have smokescreen already under the effect of it to fix that. But I'm not a fan of this addition of an affix like this because it's essentially just an arbitrary gear check. Like, there's nothing you can do to avoid it other than having enough gear and survivability to do it. And I think player skills should be rewarded wherever possible. So I'll definitely be sending Blizz my feedback on this particular one because having an unavoidable gear check like this seems like, you know, with Molten you can avoid the fields, with Arcane Sentries you can avoid the Arcane. You should be able to with good play move beyond any sort of gear issues you have. So I should be able to play Torment 3 if I play perfectly, even though my gear might not be up to spec for that. But with something like that, as soon as I encounter one of those packs with that affix, there's nothing I can do to avoid that, and I'll simply get one shot. So that's a bit unfortunate. But one other thing that can be improved. Now it looks like the boss has spawned, so we've reached 100% and he's appeared. Oh, it's Gom. Gom should be pretty easy to crushing blow down. As you can see, he's taking a ton of damage now that his health is very high. And you'll see that proc, you'll see his health jump each time a crushing blow goes off. And that jump will get less and less. Now, I'm also getting stormed by something, so I'm going to have to kill whatever's storming me. Here we go, it's this guy, Thunderstorm guy. This guy's going to be a pain if I don't kill him soon, because I just simply get destroyed by that storm. It's the one thing that just really I can't do anything about. So let's go grab these health globes here to try and heal me up a bit. See if I can kill this Rare. Come on, Rare. Get out of here. There we go. Okay, now we can focus on Gom. And, ooh, we're out of discipline. Can we survive through it? And now that his health is getting a bit lower, the crushing blow will be less effective, but I have enough damage and crit, and I'm like putting out enough damage overall that we should be able to deal with him pretty quickly. Veracity, the Rift Guardian. Let's see if we get a legendary drop. No legendary drops on this run. I usually get at least one, maybe two sometimes. But looks like none this time around, unfortunately. Legendaries are notorious for being camera shy. But I'll complete the rest of the Rift run, because there might be a bit more to do here. And maybe, if we're lucky, we'll find a legendary drop before the end of it. There's a shield pylon. No, we actually got very, very few shrines in this one, which is pretty unusual, actually, how few we got. But shrines are a pretty big part of the rifts. That you get these unique shrines that only spawn in rifts, and shield is one of them. And this one gives me 30 seconds of just complete damage immunity. I take no damage whatsoever, so I'm invulnerable for 30 seconds. They're all pretty much equally OP. There's one that is a lightning conduit, just allows me to shock enemies around me, dealing tons of extra damage. There's one that increases your damage by 400%. And there's possibly the best one of all, removes all cooldowns and resource costs of all skills. So I can simply have Perma Vengeance and pop my Fan of Knives as much as I want. Pretty insane. Hopefully we'll get another shrine to show off, because only having one spawn so far is pretty unlucky. I think I got a bunch of health shrines, and I think they replaced them, so getting health shrines is always a bit disappointing in one of these rifts. Here we go, a channeling pylon. Oh, I'm excited. Ready for this? Perma all skills. And this includes Perma Shadow Power, or Perma whatever. Perma Smoke Screen. Just unleash insanity. That's so good. Just having like Perma Vengeance up and Perma Fan of Knives going off. Easily my favorite shrine. It just allows you to just tear up in this stuff. And I like to make sure I refresh my Vengeance once again before it wears off, which is right about now. There we go. Okay. It only lasts 30 seconds, but you get to just absolutely destroy. The best thing is when you have one of those right when the boss spawns, and you get to use one of those, or use your 400% damage increase to kill the boss super quickly. But I was glad we got some shrines at least before the end of this one. Oh, there we go. We finally got a legendary drop in this rift. Good stuff. A legendary belt. I'm pretty happy with my belt. In fact, it might be the same belt. Let's check it out, unless it's got placeholder art, so it might be a different one. But we got yeah, it is the same belt. Is it an upgrade? Wow, it's an upgrade. Awesome. Evasive Fire. I might see if I can re-roll that to something. We might be able to re-roll that to... maybe I can just re-roll it to another stat or something like that. I don't know if you can get Strafe. Maybe Fan of Knives is on there. I'm not sure. We'll see what skill is on there later. But that's actually a pretty nice little upgrade. So I'm pretty happy with that massive dexterity increase. And everything, all the stats are a bit higher. So pretty good. There we go. Get on my waist. So now we get to go back to talk to Urek here and get our little Greater Heraldric Cache, as well as some golden XP and blood shards there. I've actually got enough blood shards to buy another Heraldric Cache. cache. We can gamble on items there, but I'll go for the extra Haragic cache there. I prefer that. Open that. Oh, another legendary. Oh, two. Oh, yes, shoulders. Whoa, okay. I'm pretty excited for these shoulders. Let's check out... Ooh, what are they? Oh, this is... The base art is a very low-level legendary, but it'll be upscaled. Barter Town Pads. Wow, that's like upgrade all stats. Your town portal is no longer interrupted by taking damage. While casting town portal, you gain a protective bubble that reduces damage taken by 50%. That's a nice getting out one there for hardcore. But I think this is actually pretty nice for doing bounty runs as well. One of the most annoying things is when you finish a bounty and you want to teleport to the next one, but you got to kill all the mobs around you before you can teleport or you get interrupted. So I'm definitely going to wear this. And it increases my Phantom Knife damage, which is actually fantastic on this build. So, wow, I'm pretty happy with that. Awesome stuff. Got an upgrade. Let's check out what the art's like on those guys too. Yeah, that's all right. That suits my character all right. But let's check out these braces as well. This is a different pair of braces. I really like my speed boost braces. But what have we got? 5 skills deal. Wow, huge damage increase for fire. Crit chance and health globes restore 20% of your primary resource. Wow, this one's actually pretty good. I really like my Haratonian arm guards, but these are really nice as well. That was pretty sick. A very nice ending to our Rift run. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the commentary. I enjoyed doing it for you guys. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Ziggy D, and thanks for watching.